Hey, all right, we got a show. Welcome to the show. It's a Fist from Your Face podcast, the show I do for my house. I'm Chris Blackwell. We have a website. Visit us at www.fistfromyourface.com. You could also email me at fistfromyourface@gmail.com. You could send me an email straight from the website, and you can also subscribe there, which will get you an email whenever a new blog post or a podcast episode is posted. We're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, those kind of things. And just recently, we're starting to branch out and get onto those streaming services. So we're currently up and running on Spotify and Stitcher, and also YouTube. And coming soon, Google Play and iTunes. Those feeds are submitted. They're just pending a review. So hopefully in the next couple days, you can find us there. I'm very excited. Because this is the first proper episode of this podcast. I have an actual guest in the studio today. This is a person that I've known for probably about 15 years when we met at work in 2005. We've worked together, we've hung out, we've played music together in a band, not a really formal band, but, an informal work band. We've gone to concerts together, and now we're podcasting together. You would know him as the NBC Chicago news helicopter reporter for about the last 22 years. He's won 3 Emmys, but more than that, he's an incredible father, husband, and an amazing friend. Please welcome to the show, Mike Lorber. All right, Mike, we're rolling, man.
All right, cheers.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Cheers. I wanted to start this off with a toast. I think this bottle probably looks familiar to you because you were here about 2 years ago for our housewarming.
For the housewarming, yeah.
Mike gifted me a bottle of Bourbon County Stout, a 2015 bottle, and by the label, it develops in the bottle for up to 5 years. So it's 2020, and what better time to crack it open than my first episode?
Yeah, I don't get a lot of day drinking in anymore, so
me neither.
This is awesome.
This will be good when the Packers play later.
Yeah.
I'll need it.
There you go. Cheers.
So thanks for being here, man. Ooh, that is good.
Nice.
That is delicious.
Yeah. All right.
Very nice gift. Thank you.
Yeah. So when I'm slurring in band practice later, they'll know why. So.
Yeah, you got band practice after this. I mean, it's Sunday. You got a wife and kid at home. You got band practice, and there's playoff football today. So you still squeezed me in, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. I was
you.
looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. So speaking of band practice, I guess, what do you guys got going on today?
So we're our new band is called C-130, which is the aircraft. As you're like an avionics geek, you would know. So
Right.
our drummer Brian Fredericks, his dad used to fly that in the military back in the day.
Okay.
So we're kind of using it as kind of like a U2 type thing, or just some of the guys are like really into the whole robot sci-fi part of it. So there are posters with these like robots and guitars and all that. So
sweet. So the Jack Daddy thing, that's completely over? Or?
yeah.
Okay.
So we did that for about 3 or 4 years, and it was just a kind of change in personnel, which will happen even in your, and let's be clear here. We're just like a fun cover band. We don't take this too seriously.
Right.
I've got enough things going on in my life that's serious. This is like 1,000% fun.
That's what it should be.
Without getting into details in public, the last band just kind of imploded after Memorial Day last year. So,
This is a whole new group of guys then.
Don, who was in the last band, Don Lang, the bass player, and then he's like recording guru. He's got this Flying Pig sound in Bartlett, and so he and I, but two of the other guys, Ian and Brian, are friends of Don for a while, and he would always have these like jams in his basement, which is a great thing to do. Anybody who ever wants to like start playing, and I know you do. This is
Secretly.
secretly.
I'm not there yet, but yeah.
So, well, once you have a space, this is a great thing to do. You go on Facebook and you invite fellow musicians that you know that aren't going to rob your house and stuff, and then you just kind of put it all together, and everybody picks 2 songs and you play. And that's what we used to do. And Brian was a drummer, and Ian was a guitar player, and we all always got along really well, which is the most important thing at the level that we're playing at. Then we add in Matt, who's like half all of our age, but kind of an old soul, so that's really cool. Tried out a few lead guitarists, and he's our guy, and we're good to go. And our first gig is right around St. Patrick's Day. So.
And your tastes are all kind of the same, like classic rock, Beatles, and Doors.
Yeah, it's anywhere from there up to like I'd probably say the most current stuff we have is like Black Keys, who I know you love.
Oh yeah.
And so a few things from this century. Got a lot of '90s stuff in now. Like Matt's a big Oasis guy, so we're doing like Some Might Say. We're doing Don't Look Back in Anger. Good by Better Than Ezra. Santa Monica by Everclear. So Hard to Handle by the Crows, and then take that in with like Roadhouse Blues, and so we kind of mix in the whole range of it.
Now that you mention it, I remember you playing some Black Keys songs
Yeah.
with the other band when
Right.
I saw you guys in Elgin.
Yeah, and this is just two guitar players, and then I sing. Brian also sings background and drums, and Don plays bass. Last band, we had a really dynamic keyboard guy, so we did a lot of things through that. But we're kind of going, more straight edge rock now. So.
Okay. That's awesome, man. So you guys kind of haven't done any shows yet with this new band, right?
No, so we kind of just started up maybe about October, November, and wanted to make sure we could at least put an hour or two together that sounded relatively good. My sister Betsy has a trio called Harmonious Jones. Her and her friend sing these amazing harmonies, and then Frank plays guitar. So they're going to do like an acoustic set before we play. It's since I'm full on promotion mode here, man.
Do it, man. That's
March 14th at the Station Pub in Tinley Park, which is actually the day of the downtown St. Patrick's Day parade. Train
Well,
goes
that'll be a
right
shit
there.
show.
Yeah. So if we get a lot of people coming off the train and like, hey, so
They'll be ready to party. Yeah, Jesse and I plan on being there for that one.
Awesome.
Now, didn't
Appreciate
she
it.
have another band too, your sister? Boogie Shoes or
Yeah,
something
that
like
was a while ago. That was
okay.
really fun. It was cool because it was like a funk groove band, but they, I've seen a lot of these over the years. They didn't pipe anything in. They had the big horn section, which was just awesome. So
I never got to see them.
Yeah, that kind of dissolved over time, but like all of those people are in different bands too. So
Yeah.
she
kind of how you have
has
to
an
do it.
amazing voice.
Really?
Like I'm just a dude who can make like appropriate mouth noises at the appropriate time, but
That's half the battle.
she's out of the story. It really is about 2/3 of the battle, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's funny. I got another friend who's in a couple of bands, and that's what he's always saying. He's like, I keep two bands going at all times because something's going to fall through, and then at least you have the other thing going. And actually, it's Rich Lachlan. You know who that is? Shout out to Rich.
Okay,
He used to share the hangar over at Schaumburg.
Gotcha, yeah.
He lives here in town.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah, we used to, Chris plays guitar.
Okay.
And we used to, Chris, and, we used to, in the hangar.
Yeah.
So, when I flew out of the Schaumburg airport, Chris was the mechanic.
That's right.
And so
that's how we met.
We would have downtime.
We would.
In the glorious helicopter life, which everybody thinks we have, which could not be further from
not
the truth.
Glorious at all.
No, it's.
But we make the best of it by bringing amps and
mostly a
guitars
bunch
to the hangar.
of mangy dudes hanging out in an airport hangar. You know,
some things never change. I'm still a mangy
being
dude.
slovenly and all that. But we used to jam a little bit after work. So
that's right. That was fun, man. That was how long ago was that? I mean, I met you probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, that was about 9 years ago.
Was it 9?
Yeah.
I started there in like 05.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Obviously, I will have said this in the intro to this podcast, but everyone knows you from NBC for the last over 20 years now.
Yeah, I started full time doing the helicopter stuff, which has since been named Sky 5, and
right,
full time in like 1998.
98.
So up until I used
22 years now.
I took over the old hardcore rock fans would remember from the Blaze, the 90s rock station. So there was a dude named Major Tom, and he used to talk like this, and he used to be the helicopter guy for Channel 5. And then he got a job with the city, and then I was able to take over because I had filled in for him.
Oh, I know. I met Tom at
your
your 20-year party that we did.
Tom is like an outstanding guy. He's like the king of Chicago.
Nice.
The social king of Chicago. So
that's a good guy to be.
Mm-hmm.
Is he musical too? Is he like in a band? Is that a common thread?
No, not. He, I think he's working with the Better Business Bureau now. He'd worked with the city for a while, but he's just one of those guys that knows everybody and everybody in the broadcast industry because he was in it for so long. And just a really, really fun guy to hang out with.
Yeah, that sort of happened to me because I'm not in broadcasting. Oh, I guess I sort of am now with this thing.
You are,
but
as of 3 minutes ago, sure, yeah.
yeah,
so,
we're rolling now.
yeah.
But I've made friends with you and a number of people in broadcasting. It's just kind of, it's interesting. You know, you meet people in different walks of life. And
Yeah, and I think because what I do is kind of unique, been able to survive what is an absolute, shit show of a business sometimes. And hey, that brings up, by the way, now I had asked you beforehand, like if we were able to swear.
Fuck yes, we can swear.
Awesome. So I may have a little like Tourette's ridden, like, where I just go off. Cause I've had a microphone in front of my mouth since like the late 80s. And when I used to DJ in college, and even then at nightclubs, they wouldn't want you to swear. And then like radio, and then I did like nightclub DJing, and then I started doing traffic reporting, and then, the helicopter reporting. So I've never been able to swear.
You've got 30 years
we did
of
the rock and roll radio, program which you were on too, and still, you can never swear. So,
well, I wasn't really on it. I was on it for one day,
Yeah.
and that was an interesting experience. That actually inspired the name of this podcast, by the way,
Nice.
because we got there and you guys said, just keep that thing about a fist from your face.
All
And
right.
It's stuck. So
very cool.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and then now I have a 5-year-old, so
Right.
try not to swear around him, and pretty successful. So because he picks up everything.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's at that age. I have nieces around that age, and yeah, you got to be careful.
About a third of the vocabulary is farts, butt, and stink now. So
Well, I was singing the old classic, revved up like a douche, and that's all my niece could say.
there you go. douche.
A douche. Yeah, I get texts from my sister like, "Why'd you do that?"
He's got my sense of humor. So he's in kindergarten now, and a few months ago, my wife texts me while I'm in the helicopter and says they have Discovery in kindergarten. So you kind of show and tell Discovery.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're supposed to bring things. So Jack decided to show the whole class his ass.
Fuck, for real?
Yep. Yeah, just dropped it. I guess a friend dared him, and he showed the whole class his ass. So, yeah.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah,
Not that
so
you ever showed
luckily
your ass
my
on
wife
TV.
had texted me this while I was at work. So I had like 2 hours of like texting it to my friends and like cracking up and my family and ass memes and everything else. So by the time I was able to get home, I could do now Jack, here's the bikini area and here's your underwear area and nobody sees that.
That's
and I was able
hilarious.
to like
You got to get the
get
laughs
through
out
it
of the way.
mostly without, breaking up. And my wife's got a good sense of humor too. So
She does.
yeah.
Your wife's awesome, man. The first time I met her, sadly, I think her grandfather passed away that same night. And we were on our way to
went
hang out at a
with
show.
Jim Ryan to see
Roger
Daltrey at the Horseshoe. Yeah,
That's right.
It was a odd night, and she had found out her grandmother had passed that
Grandmother.
night. And yeah, so and
Shout out to Jen because she held it together and we had an awesome night.
we-
and she
yeah,
was,
that night
you know,
was
it was pretty epic actually
Right.
when you look back on it. We won't name too many names on that.
no.
We'll save that for the next time you're here. We'll need a couple more of these bourbon counties.
Yeah, there you go.
We can tell that story. Oh man, yeah, time flies. I can't believe your son is 5.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm a little late in the game as far as parenthood, but it's
That's all right. How
it
do you
is
like
absolutely amazing.
Is it?
It is. I can't think of a more like immense, better thing that could happen to me, and it's
Really, that's
it's
awesome.
just, and I've had a lot of fortunate things happen to me, but it's just I highly suggest it.
Yeah,
If your wife was here, you should go right now and
just pause this.
yeah,
and-
I can serenade you
bang
from
one
the
out.
other room, and it'll be all sweet and yeah.
right. She's running errands right now.
Okay,
I'm kind of glad
well,
she's
all
not
right,
here for this.
Little uncomfortable, anyways, but
Right.
no, it is an absolutely awesome thing.
Everyone says that. I mean, my sister looks frazzled. She's got 3 girls under the age of 7, and but she
Yeah.
says it's all worth it. At the end of the day.
Yeah, that's intense.
She's outnumbered.
Yeah.
It's
Like
it's
I think
crazy.
about, I'm the youngest of 4, and
Oh, wow.
I've got 2 sisters 4 and 6 years older than me. My brother is 7 years older than me. So when I was born, my mom had a 7, 6, 4-year-old, and then me.
and then 4.
And my
yeah.
dad was out doing sales stuff, and
Yeah.
and that was just that was everyday life back then.
Yeah.
And now you're just like, holy shit.
These days, that's a huge
Yeah,
family.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
these
my-
days, but that was like the norm back then. So
My dad is one of technically 11.
wow.
But twin boys died at birth, I guess, so there's actually 9 aunts and uncles out there.
Okay.
My mom's only got one brother. She had 2. Long story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seems like big families.
Yeah,
were the thing
yeah.
back in.
I think, God, my wife's dad is one of 13.
Wow.
And then I lose track. My grandparents on my mom's side, I think they had like 11 or 12 from Ireland. All came over. So.
But you're not that much older than me, right? I'm 37 on Friday.
I am a lot older than you. I'm 53.
No way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We get along great, even though we're technically like different generations.
Yeah.
We've been friends for a long time.
And I think all that stuff's highly
It is.
overrated bullshit.
I think you're right.
I even get bothered. I like stereotyping is one of my least favorite awful combined with stupid things in the world. And it applies across the board, whether it's politics, race, religion, whatever.
Oh, for
but
sure.
like, the thing you see all the time are millennials. Or millennials are this, that, and the other thing.
I know.
That's got to bother you. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I'm one of those cuspers because I
Sure,
was like early
right.
83.
Okay.
So if you go by all the numbers out there, I'm like one of the first millennials technically.
Gotcha.
But I don't, by the hallmarks of that generation,
Right.
supposedly with the
Sure.
stereotypes that you're alluding to, I don't really identify with that as much, but I'm sure on some levels I do. Someone will be listening to this going, you're a fucking
No,
millennial."
in a lot of ways, I probably get along with people younger than myself than I do older than myself. I don't know. I try to be pretty easy to get along with, I guess.
Well, I would say that holds true. In fact, I told Jesse when I was putting all this together, I said, I asked probably 12 people to do this. And I got all yeses, by the way. But I told her, I
that's great.
said, I'll bet you Mike will be the first guy to do it. And we hadn't set this date yet.
Right.
She's like, well, what makes you say that? I'm like, because he'll show up. He's that kind of guy. And I was right.
And it's important. I have delved into so many little, and my wife's so cool to like let me do this stuff, but little things that I branched out to here and there, like the band now. And
Right.
we did the radio show before, and I had done like writing before and different things. And, to get that going, to have that outlet.
Mm-hmm. Well, you
It's
have
a
to have a
great
supportive
thing.
wife, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and
Jesse has been so supportive
Sure.
with this.
Yeah, that's first and foremost, but then
Right.
you have to have like other people that support you too, and especially these days, everything is promoted through social media.
Right.
It
The
starts with
necessary
your
evil.
family and friends and goes out from there.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the band world, it's just there's the joke that pretty much everybody just all the dudes in the bands just go to the other bands like gigs, and that's what makes up the crowd. So
Sort of true, but
yeah,
it's still fun.
Probably about 50% true.
Yeah, but it doesn't take the fun away. You're still
Yeah,
doing it. That's the
right,
point.
so.
So yeah, the radio show you guys did. When did that kind of end? Because that was a while ago.
So that was about 6 years ago, because it was right before when it ended, and then a few months later, Jen was pregnant with Jack. So yeah, so that had lasted. Let's see, it started. I remember in like December, and I think it went through the following August. And
Was that it?
yeah,
I guess it was quicker than I thought.
yeah. So Jim Ryan and I had started a what's called a rock and roll radio program in
Yeah.
Michigan City. and,
Shout
like,
out to Jim.
Yeah, and then so we would drive out every Saturday all the way. I would go from Schaumburg, pick him up on the north side. We'd drive all the way out to Michigan City, do the show for 3 hours-ish, and then come back. And it was kind of basically 3 hours talking, playing rock, and doing whatever the hell we wanted, which was,
Great.
really cool.
Yeah, except fucking swearing.
Yeah, we could not fucking swear, no. So then, God rest his soul, we had Happy Jack who worked with us, and he kind of ran the board and did the show after us. So he was just this amazing guy who was like a radio veteran and did this kind of like freeform music. Like one week he'd play like jazz, and the next week he'd play like half an hour of live Hendrix, and then do something else, and it just went all over the place. And he was hilarious. He was absolutely hilarious.
I met him that time we went out there. He was an eccentric dude, but he seemed totally awesome to be around.
He was like I think he was like 60 and had like a Slipknot t-shirt on or something, but
yeah, he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, so it was really fun. It's whether you're doing like a radio show or a band or like so many little dynamics you don't think about when you're doing with other people, and you you got to get along with people, and you kind of all have to be going the same way. And
Right.
But what ended up happening is we just couldn't access the studio anymore.
Oh, well, okay.
And then it went from 3 hours to 1, and Jim and I decided we were each going to do an hour just pre-recorded, but that's just not as fun doing a radio show. And to be honest, the GM, not the owner, but the GM kind of had sent us all these rules now for doing this. We were doing this for free, mind you.
Right.
This is the radio world for you folks.
Yeah.
You do not make money. We did all this for free. So,
of course.
And then the guy, program director, who I won't name, kind of sent out these like semi-condescending emails about you'll do this, and this, and you'll no longer be in a radio station. We're thinking, yeah, we're doing this for free, and I've got a really good job already. So,
right.
No, I just kind of said, no, this. I saw it going in a bad direction, so I opted out. Jim still did it for a few years afterwards, and it all turned out, perfectly because, by like almost a year later, I was a father. So
yeah. Well, not that you necessarily have time, but have you thought about doing a podcast? Because it's sort of the same thing. I'm not making any money. This cost me money, but I don't get those condescending emails from anybody.
I have, and really I don't have time is
Yeah.
what it is. And the thing I have time for, like throughout my whole life, there was always like some hobby. I was really into sports. Like when I was younger, I'd play basketball. I still play softball on weekends, played baseball. Pretty much have run my body into the ground by now. So
Oh, really?
So we're close to the end of all that. So
Yeah.
just still being able to play softball at 53 is pretty damn cool.
Oh, you're still doing that?
Yeah, so
Oh,
still
man,
playing
nice.
weekends with a bunch of old fucks and then their kids. So there's like we had a pitcher who was like 65 years old, and so
Yeah.
so you do that.
You got to get out there.
So, but I think being in a band, the biggest thing it gives you is just kind of like the adrenaline rush and hanging out with guys and all that. And there's some work with it, but you kind of you practice and it's a couple hours and then you're done with it, for the most part.
Yeah.
Other than, getting ready for gigs and trying to get gigs and all that. So you
Yeah.
want it to be good and you want it to be as good as it can be, but you can't get too, at least at our level, serious about it. This
Yeah.
isn't our career.
It's a hobby. You blow off
Yeah,
some
we're just a
steam and you're
bunch
having
of,
fun.
mostly middle-aged dudes, like, who like rock music and get together and play. So
Yeah, well, if
you want it to sound good, but you don't want to take it too seriously.
Yeah, and if C-130 is anything like your last band, it's going to be awesome because
Oh,
you
thanks,
guys
man.
were really good,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, you played really tight and
Yeah.
had a whole repertoire, like you were saying, everything from 50s and 60s oldies up to, 90s and 2000s stuff, so fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, I mean, what we do is we're looking to play like maybe 8 to 10 times a year.
Okay.
And we try to practice like once a week, and that's it. We're not, we're not like Seventh Heaven or like one of those other bands that
Yeah.
like,
Trying to
get
be
out
the
there.
Chicago
It's
band.
amazing, man. I did some physical therapy, and I guess like Seventh Heaven, and they're a cover band. They're a big cover band in the
Yeah,
area.
everybody around here knows
Yeah,
that.
this girl like in physical therapy is like, yeah, so I dated their guitar tech.
Ooh. Wait a minute.
Yeah, so I'm like, what? Like, so a cover band in Chicago has guitar techs.
It's just the guitarist's little brother, probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
I don't know.
I
I don't know anything about those
Yeah.
guys, but yeah. Weird.
So it sounds like they have
Well, they're big
groupies and
enough.
all that, and we don't get all that. So
Okay.
no, we're
Yeah, and probably a lot of midlife crisis people following them around. Do you get those people too?
yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that was when we
Some of
wrote
those-
up our last band. Instead of like we weren't car guys, so instead of like midlife crisis cars, and
Right.
you get
Parking
into
lot
music.
full of
And
Corvettes.
for me, it's easier singing because like I don't really have to make huge financial investments in like equipment, whereas like the other guys, and you know how it is. You're a guitar player, so
Right. Oh, the sky's the limit on what
Sure,
you want to
it's
spend on
like
gear.
it's like cars. It's very similar. Like, oh, you have a car, and then you see something else, like see some other guitar that you really like, and
Yeah, among guitarists, it's known as having gas.
yeah,
Guitar acquisition
There
syndrome.
you go,
So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
just got to go get the latest
yeah. Don,
gear.
our bass player, changes basses like every like 2 or 3 months. And,
Really?
yeah,
Just trades it in
has
for
to
another
do it.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, it's cool. It's a hobby. It's what it's
Sure,
for.
exactly.
Yeah, Rich Lachlan, like I was saying, he was doing like 2 bands at a time. And, dude, that guy, I learned a few things from him recently. Talking about taking it seriously. He works full-time and stuff, too. He's got a family and kids. He's got a sound guy that'll, like, tune everything to the room. He's got 3 different amps for 3 different size venues, and they really do spend some time like dialing it in. I was very impressed. They sound really good when you see them live, and you could tell where that like extra attention to detail goes.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're just cranking out covers and having a great time.
That's what you do after a while. At first, you're just getting together. You pick some songs. You try to get through the songs. And then, once you're able to actually get through the song, then you fine-tune, try to make it as good as possible. And then, typically, again, it's easier for me as the singer to learn things. But typically, like, we'll try not to add, like, more than 2 songs at a time. And,
How many total songs do you think you've got?
So right now we're in the 15 to 20 range. Now with the last band, we probably got up into over 40 to 50.
Yeah.
And, but it was a combination of, without having the keys, we had to get rid of a few things, and then there was just stuff I think we were sick of.
Yeah.
And then we want the new band to be the new band. We don't want it to be the old band. So we're keeping some of the stuff, but for the most part, changing name, changing everything. It's a new band, and so.
Well, that's still like well over an hour of music.
Yeah, I think the idea is like we're gonna try to get it for this gig upcoming. Maybe we'll play for like an hour and a half, something like that. And my sister's band can do 2 sets. So
nice. What do they kind of play?
So
mostly?
they
without the horns anymore.
So no, so they just do the acoustic guitar, and then her. Frank sings sometimes too, but my sister and her friend, this is her best friend from way, way back.
Okay.
And their harmonies are just amazing.
Really?
Terry kind of does like a harder rock kind of vocal, and my sister has a higher voice, and the harmonies are just insane. I've always been like a freak for harmonies. I absolutely love it, and we're working on that now because Brian, our drummer, can sing harmonies with me, but it's nothing like what they do. And it's so
That's awesome.
Think of really any band that has harmonies, going back to the Beatles or Beach Boys or
Simon and Garfunkel or something.
But they're amazing because they'll take like acoustic versions of like Sly Stone, which is a band that had all horns, like Everybody Is a Star, and then do that.
Wow.
And then they'll do current stuff. They, and they, I would say probably 2/3 of the artists they do aren't even like female vocals, but they'll do it, and it all works.
And it works.
It's really fantastic. So
well, I'm excited to see.
And then
guys,
they bring people up, and different people sing. Like I'll go up and sing with them, and other people, and it's just a really fun,
That's cool, man. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Just having a good time. Can't take yourself too seriously.
No. Way too many people take themselves way too seriously. So
that's for fucking sure.
Yeah.
My God.
So
that's usually what leads to the demise of these kind of things. Someone starts getting a little ego involved, or then you start butting heads. Next thing you know, this fun thing we had is total shit now.
Exactly. Yeah, and it can be a disagreement over different things and
creative differences, as they
last time. Yeah, I'm trying not to say too much here because I don't want to like throw people under a bus, and I'm still like
That's just like
most of the guys from the old band I'm great friends with and really cool, and
yeah, of course,
and
adults.
especially when you sing, to be lucky enough to have like a bunch of guys and play instruments, and you're just able to do almost like live band karaoke, and that's just a cool thing to be able to do.
But you can actually sing too, by the way. You're not like just doing karaoke,
right? Yeah,
I mean, you're a good singer.
I try.
Let's be honest. Yeah, and you know your shit. You have like a pretty good stage presence, I would say.
Yeah, I need a little work on that, but
I don't know, man. You think so?
I don't. Some movements.
I feel like you bring it.
Yeah,
I feel like you bring
I could bring it a little more.
Well,
groove a little more.
Yeah,
trying to get in better shape, things like that. So
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
See, now you're taking yourself too seriously. You're gonna be doing
pull-ups.
Well,
and that's just more of a life thing. That's actually more to chase my 5-year-old around. So yeah, being 53 with a 5-year-old is a really interesting dynamic.
When he's showing his ass to everyone, you gotta
be
right there.
You gotta be in there quickly. So, but he is a ball of energy, and
I haven't even met your son yet. Surprisingly, in 5 years, so we need to make that happen. We all just gotta get together. He probably won't be there for the St. Patty's Day show. I'm guessing
probably
not.
Have a
babysitter on that night.
Like it's a little. We try to get him. He is Jack's on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
But which I've learned over time, is we could do 2 hours on that.
Right.
You really could, but
Sure.
It's a very large spectrum, and he's one of those kids that if you saw, you wouldn't even think he was on the spectrum.
Okay. Well, then how did you find out then?
there were some speech delays, so
If
that's the first thing. And then
Okay.
when he would have what normal kids would just have like tantrums, they would really go off. Like sometimes he would hit his head into the wall or like throw his arms at us or that type of thing.
Yeah, over the top.
And totally uncontrollable.
Okay.
And we got him in, and I give my wife all the credit in the world, kind of at first saying, let's just go get him looked at. And, you know, it's so funny when you tell people this, and they'll have kids, and there are a lot of people who are really reluctant or reticent to accept, A, that their kid might be on the spectrum, B, that this thing even exists. Like, I had a guy in the last band who was like, you know, he was like from a different country. He's like, oh, we just think this is an American thing. You'd be surprised how many people like don't even think that's a thing. And like,
wow,
you're just
so culturally, other countries even
Exactly.
don't like, they turn a blind eye to it.
Sure.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
we got him assessed, and there was a diagnosis, and that started the early education and intervention program, which they have.
Okay.
So you can get help before 3 years old, and then after that, we got him into this amazing school in Schaumburg called the Early Learning Center. This place is just unbelievable, and it's for any basically kids who are at a disadvantage. There are people who move from like all over the country to Schaumburg.
No kidding.
Because they have their kids go here. So
Renowned program.
he went there for 2 years, breezed through it. He spent like 2 months in a class, in an all autistic class, and then he was in a blended class. Now he is in a regular kindergarten class, a dual language program, so they do half the day in English and half the day in Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah, my 5-year-old kid who's on the autism spectrum. So,
That's incredible.
Yeah,
And this is just a regular kindergarten class.
correct.
So
Schaumburg
the
has
program
amazing
in
schools.
Schaumburg
Yeah.
got him geared up and ready.
So Schaumburg has other schools where they have one where it's a dual language because there's a big Asian community in Schaumburg.
Right.
Japanese and English program, and then the kids also play violin. And you know, we're at like 6 years old. My wife and I turn this like, what?
Like prodigies.
And this is a
like,
public
well,
school. This isn't like, no, they teach you this.
Well,
Another
this
one
is
is
all
called
here.
the Chinese immersion program, where the kids are like learning and writing Chinese completely fluent by the time they're out of 6th grade. So that's what
Wow.
they're shooting for Spanish here.
So when you said you got him in before he was 3 years old, is that sort of like a turning point with
They're
certain?
I believe in that, and it's been changing, but there's a early intervention program.
Okay.
So if you have a child and not even just what you think might be on the autism spectrum, but is delayed in any way, shape, or form, you can go have an assessment done by a psychologist, and then you can get what's called early intervention help, and they have therapists, and these people are just fantastic. They're like my favorite people in the world now.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can like hear me getting emotional about this.
That's
And
all right.
yeah, so they will help you out and kind of get you going in the right direction. There are speech therapies, there's physical therapy, what they call like occupational therapies, all kinds of different therapies. And then we really got into this school. My wife was a PTA president there for the time that Jack was there. I was there once a week, and you know, that's where I really learned what a broad spectrum, you know, autism is. I'll be honest, I had this kind of like Rain Man-esque kind of stereotype, you know, and
Oh,
again,
right.
stereotypes suck.
Like a
And-
savant.
Sure,
Yeah,
right.
you have your
What
idea
I
of what
thought
that is.
autism was, because I really didn't know, and
Sure.
I really didn't know too many autistic people, and now it's just such a wide range, you know, so.
That's interesting. And so a diagnosis for being on the spectrum comes from a psychologist?
Right, and
Okay.
what that does and why it's important to get is it gets you the help. Because
Yeah.
then the school, and not only that, this is all mostly paid for.
Okay.
So
Right.
yeah, I think it cost us like preschool cost us like $50.
Jeez, that's
Yeah.
awesome that those
This
resources
amazing,
are out there.
you know, life-changing education, right? So
Well, you know, a lot of people, and it's an election year. I don't want to get too political
Sure.
with this podcast, but you know, they talk about how we need to model everything after Europe, and you're saying there's some European folks who maybe aren't as aware of this stuff as
Well,
we are here. Maybe they can learn a few things.
well, that's one person.
Okay.
I wouldn't say in general, but yeah.
Maybe we could still.
But now part of what they do at the Early Learning Center too,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing about Schaumburg that people don't realize. Schaumburg, like anybody from Chicago, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. The stereotype of Schaumburg is the mall. Woodfield Mall and strip malls and a bunch of people just hanging out at the mall. And that's like all Schaumburg is.
Which isn't not true. But
well, until you get into like parenthood and kids and you realize that Schaumburg is really diverse.
It is.
In a different way than you would think. It doesn't but there's a huge Indian community. There's a huge Asian community. There is a massive, which I never realized, like Eastern European community.
I didn't know.
A lot of people from Poland and Russia, we're in a subdivision, and I'll go down the street to the block, and I'll hear like 4 different languages spoken.
Yeah.
So
I guess now that you mention it, that's true. I lived in that area before we moved out here, and the people we
found out that the Schaumburg District 54 school district converts more kids, what they call ESL, like English second language, to like be fluent in English than any other district in the state of Illinois.
Really?
Yeah. So that's another part of like why you would go to an early learning like center, because your kid is like grown up with speaking a different language and is delayed speaking. So
wow. So not only does this kind of early learning program get him up to speed with quote-unquote normal kindergarten, but he's ahead of the game because of the diversity and the different languages. And things. That's amazing. So, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, man, he's 5. By the time he's out of 6th grade, he'll be fluent in probably multiple languages then.
Well, yeah, the idea is to be able to write and speak Spanish by the time you're out of the 6th grade. So
you've got no notions on moving out of that area for a long time.
No, and we had thought about it because with work, I work the dreaded split shift. I've done this for so I drive like 21 miles to work, get there at 5 in the morning. I do the morning shows through like 7 o'clock and maybe a little bit afterwards, lingering like 8, 9. I come back home. I've got the whole middle of the day off. Then I go back and then do the afternoon show starting at 4, so I'm there at 3, and that can last till like 7 o'clock or later, and then come back.
That is a long day.
It is. And it's something you never really get used to, but before my son was going to school, it was just I was like a highly functional zombie.
Sure.
But there's a lot of those out there. You'll go out, like parents with kids, or young kids, like you go to the park and there's this whole like slew of just walking dead people, like at the park. Lots of moms who are just fucking dead in the eyes and like, hey, what's going on?
That opiate glaze that they have.
It's
right.
Yeah, it's lack of sleep and just the, hey, don't swing upside down on Matt Bard and crack your head open. Like, you're so tired you can't even get the words out of your mouth.
Yeah,
and,
look, I'm in no position to judge any parent. We don't have kids.
No.
I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. Like, if you're doing it, congratulations.
I had a really good rule that I tried to stick to, and now that I'm a parent, I'm so glad that I did, that if you don't have kids, you should mostly shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, for
100%.
the most part. I mean, there might be some common sense stuff, and my family dynamic's really bizarre because I have older brothers and sisters, and I have a bunch of nieces and nephews that are in their 20s or 30s, early 30s, and then Eddie is, I don't know what Eddie is these days, like 23 years old, and then it goes all the way down to Jack.
Okay.
So I have a niece who has a kid who's like a half a year younger than
I see. Yeah.
So I was like you. I was an uncle for like the longest time. Saw all my kids grow up. Was part of that, and it was good practice.
And now you've really learned what it's like.
But it's not even the same.
Yeah.
Because you're an uncle. You're there for a couple of hours, and you're the cool uncle. You hang out.
Oh yeah, have a good time, and as soon as they get hungry and start crying, you give them back.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And, it's not the same.
It is nothing.
But it is. It's immense, man.
I teach him to sing "Revved Up Like a Douche," and
there
then
you
I
go.
go home.
And then,
it's not parenting at all.
Yeah, and then your siblings have to deal with it when
it's anti-parent.
She's saying douche in school.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. No. We've thought about having kids and everything, but I don't know. I think that ship has sailed. There's been some other reasons. I don't want to necessarily put everything out on this podcast, but
I have a feeling you might be in the same boat we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Similarities there. So.
Yeah.
But we're happy. I mean,
we have one, and we haven't been able to have more because there have been some losses and things like that, which is tough to talk about, but like something people should talk about. The more you talk about it with people, the more you realize that more people have gone through it. So,
yeah, I've got a friend right now who I can't say who it is. It's all top secret, but yeah, they've been struggling for a while, and then finally, after like 6, try and fails, boom, one happened.
Right.
So they're just like so happy right now. I won't say who it is, but
yeah, no, we lost pregnancy before Jack, and then Jack was born, and I've lost some since.
Oh, really?
And and it's the most difficult thing in the world. And then people will ask you, "Oh, you only had one kid?" And like it's the easiest thing in the world to just pop out a kid, and
right. Yeah, and people ask me that too. Oh, why don't you have kids? You should be having kids.
Yeah,
how do you have any joy in life at all? And I'm like, gee, thanks.
So, I'm going to teach this lesson to people. First of all, don't push too much on that, because there are a zillion reasons why people don't or can't have kids. And when people ask about that, they may not realize, and it's usually like the person who doesn't know you that well either, and
yeah. Well, if it's not a choice,
right,
and you don't have the choice, it kind of hurts on that level. But even if it is your choice not to have kids, like, don't judge me for not having kids,
Yeah, and
like,
that's
we don't have to.
Absolutely. I mean, hell, I walked through this earth for 47 years before I had a kid, so
47.
And so it was all.
Well, you're going to be doing that split shift for a few more years.
Oh yeah,
Jack goes to multilingual college.
I'm never going to stop working now. So I'm gonna have to work. I already my sister's a teacher, and she's gonna be 60, and she's just gonna retire, and I'm never fucking retiring.
You'll be working. You'll be doing the news forever.
So.
Well, now wait a minute. 1998, you started doing that, and you're still doing it. You're the only guy really in Chicago in the helicopter side of things, right?
No. I'm the only guy. There's women, but
who else is in the helicopter these days?
Sarah from WGN goes up in the helicopter, and
still.
Jeanette, and with CBS. I think those are the only full-time helicopter reporters now. So
I see. I didn't realize they were still doing.
And then there are other people. This is a good thing to explain to everybody, because lots of questions we get asked. So I'm not a pilot.
A lot of people assume.
A lot of people assume that you're a pilot. I am not a pilot.
Which they do in some cities.
Yeah, not too much anymore. It's not really safe, and it's especially not safe in Chicago.
No, it isn't.
The crowded airspace. So I'm not even a photographer. I did that for a little bit, but what we do, I believe, is the most efficient way to do things, where we have a pilot, photographer, and then I do the reporting, and everybody has a separate job, and you can really focus on what it is you're doing. Those guys doing that allow me to just completely hone in on gathering information, listen to scanners, things like that, and broadcast.
Right.
And that's enough.
Yeah. Which, if you were flying an aircraft and doing all that, you're distracted. It's like texting and driving.
It's a real
only worse.
Texting and driving at 1,000 feet. Yeah. So
right.
Yeah,
which is not high enough to be doing.
There have been accidents because of that. Really bad one in Arizona a while back, in the Phoenix area.
That Phoenix mid-air collision.
It's just something you can't do. So no, it's funny. I put a lot of things in social media, and I'll every once in a while I'll get the guy or the woman who's like, "Oh, you shouldn't text while you're piloting the helicopter."
Yeah, thanks, genius.
Hashtag not a pilot. So,
Right. Man, well, you know what? The extra focus you get on your job, I think it shows in your work, because every time there's a big breaking story I put on NBC, and you're just knocking it out of the park. I mean, you just did a high-speed chase, live on the air very recently. Awesome. And you've been nominated for multiple Emmys, right?
Yeah.
Have you won that yet?
3.
You've won 3 Emmys?
Yes.
What were those for?
That's a funny story. So we had the last one was about 3-4 years ago. We had this big chase on the West Side, and these things are kind of like unicorns now. They don't happen a lot as much, because the police in Chicago have decided, and a lot nationwide, that they can only chase at a certain speed and pursue so much, because innocent people can get hurt in this.
Right.
This was a double homicide suspect who was driving through the West Side, and I shouldn't say nice things about double homicide suspects, but this guy was an amazing driver.
Right.
Must have played a lot of Grand Theft Auto as he was younger, but
right.
So Roger Powell, who's still our pilot, he was turning like every third block.
Okay.
And then Matt England, who you know, who's
Yeah.
moved on to Texas,
Right.
was the photographer. So it's about 5:15 in the afternoon, and our producer, Anna Vasser, who has just been fantastic and has been there for years, just lets me go. I'm getting all amped up, like, hey, we got this. Let's go. Let's go. So they put me on the air at 5:15, and they leave me on the air till 6 o'clock. They skip the entire national news broadcast.
Really?
Yes.
No more Lester Holt.
No, leave us on
Mike
for
Lorber.
45 minutes straight,
Damn.
which I can't thank NBC enough for doing something like that.
Yeah.
And so did all of that. So we get nominated for that.
Okay.
Did not win.
Did not win that one.
No, another station covering the remember the whole Lieutenant Joe story out in
Glenowitz, the suicide cop.
right. But
remember that.
initially he called in the fake transmission of the two guys that shot him, and we all went up in the middle of the night to look for these fictitious guys.
That was something, man.
So
That's
somebody else, I won't say which station, got the Emmy for covering a story that basically didn't exist.
Right,
And I'm not
as we
blaming them
learned
for it, 'cause
later.
we all did it, but
Yeah.
but there was another story that we covered, and it was part of the morning show in general. So where some guy was running around in the Dan Ryan, got tackled by an IDOT guy, his pants fell down, and then
Okay.
the road was closed for a while, and then so the running joke was that you have to cover somebody with their pants falling down to win an Emmy, which is about an accurate portrayal of the Emmys. The Emmys are completely rando, kind of like the Grammys in music.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So not winning an Emmy, if like nobody hasn't, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about
It's
it.
like a Grammy.
You'll
like,
be fine.
Like Led Zeppelin and the Stones and the Who didn't win a lot of Grammys back in the day, and it didn't
Right.
matter. The Emmys, and I hope I'm not talking myself out of Emmys here, but if I am, that's fine. It's completely random, like who wins, who doesn't win, all that, and people kind of know it. So it's a very nice,
So
thing
you
to
won,
be honored with, but it's very random.
you missed out an Emmy on the 45-minute coverage straight of
Mm-hmm.
a high-speed chase,
Right.
and you won for a man with no pants
There you go.
on the expressway.
For
What were the other two you guys?
Dan Ryan, pants on the ground guy. Yeah.
do you-
Unfortunately, and this is one of the hard parts of the job too. One was for a plane that crashed at Midway, and a lot of people remember this story. Went through the gates or the wall at 55th and Central, and a little boy was killed. So
I remember that.
Yeah,
I was
so-
stuck in 4 hours of traffic in that snowstorm that day.
Right.
And I drive through that intersection all
Sure.
the time because I work at Midway now.
Yeah.
And I think
that is
about
a
that
hell of a
sometimes.
drive.
It's about an hour with no
Wow.
traffic from out
Yeah.
here. Luckily, I don't have to go in every single day, and I could work around traffic a little bit.
So
it
how do you like pass time when you drive? What's
I listen
your
to
thing?
podcasts.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's kind of what sparked this. I listen
Oh,
to a lot
okay.
of I'm a Joe Rogan and Mark Maron wannabe. I don't know if you listen to
Oh
those
yeah.
guys,
Well,
but-
I watched the Mark Maron show when he had it on.
Oh yeah.
Was that IFC or something?
Yeah, that was a good
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
That was
So-
good. And the podcast was kind of
Sure.
part of that
yeah.
show. That's
yeah.
right.
That was fantastic. I loved that.
That
So,
was really
yeah.
funny. Yeah, and it's really not too far off from his actual podcast. I
Right.
mean, I don't know if it's, filmed while he's doing actual episodes, but the basic idea is there. And yeah, it's a great podcast. And Joe Rogan, he does like 3-hour.
I should listen to more of them. My wife listens to them too, and I need music in the morning,
Yeah.
like loud. I'm like the
Yeah.
dude pulling into the airport hangar at 5 a.m. with
Windows
like,
down. Yeah.
Zeppelin cranking or like something like that, because I just need to wake up in the morning. And,
Sure.
Oh,
Well, you got to get amped up to win Emmys for guys not wearing pants on the Dan Ryan.
Yeah,
so
that's you gotta
whatever it takes.
you gotta be awake. So
Right. Yeah, that's one way I pass the time, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah, I listen to a lot of music too. Of course, to my wife's dismay, all I've listened to for the last 4 months has been the new Tool album.
Wow.
So she's,
Now,
she's ready
how
for me to-
musically compatible are you and your wife? Because me and my wife like completely different things.
It depends. I think when I get in her car, she drives one car mostly, and I drive the other one. And when I jump in there, I always have to change the station because she's got some kind of poppy whatever
Sure.
on there.
Right.
But we went to the Tool concert together, and she fucking loved it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
one of our first dates was a local H concert, and she loved it.
I just saw them.
Did you?
in Minnesota at First Avenue, where like Purple
At
Rain.
the Purple Rain place.
Yeah. I went up there for the Bears game, and I'm like, I got to go to First Avenue. That's my thing, because I'm a Prince freak. I love Prince.
If you're going there.
So that was like the place I wanted to go. Local H and Soul Asylum, and Soul Asylum's from.
They're from there.
Yeah,
Duluth or
Local
whatever.
H blew him off the stage.
I can imagine that. I've seen both bands.
They are, Scott was just, he had like a 45-minute set, so he could just rip.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Local H is a Chicago band. Scott Lucas he does this thing where he plays guitar and bass kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
With like the pedals and all that. I can't remember the drummer's name, and I should, but he's insane. And
Well, their original drummer was named Joe.
yeah,
And he quit like back in the 90s. There's a pic sitting right in front of you here.
yeah,
Brian was their other drummer.
okay,
His name's on the back of that.
Okay.
I think he left, and now it's some other dude, and I haven't seen them in a few years.
right, but
They're great live.
oh, and at this venue, it was just amazing. It
Yeah.
was really, really good.
Did you hear when they opened for Metallica
Wow, that would
at
be
Soldier
yeah.
Field?
Wow,
They got
no.
like voted in. They put it to a fan vote, like what band would you want to see? And overwhelmingly,
Yeah.
landslide, Local H fans
Yeah.
came out because they have such like a cult following.
Yeah, I think they're one of those bands that it's a totally different thing live than
It is. Everyone knows their
Yeah.
hits from the 90s and
Right.
stuff, and even their last albums have been really good in my opinion.
right.
But yeah, their live shows are where it's at
Yeah.
for sure. Man, been to so many good shows.
Yeah, and it's one thing I'm missing more and more, and it's fine, but I don't go to as many now.
Right.
Well, between doing the band stuff and having the kid. So
Yeah, how can you find time?
I've got a bunch of friends that we try to go to a Road Bears game every year.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't make it every year, but so Minnesota was this year, and
When in Rome, man, you got to go to
yeah,
the
and then
Mecca
that's
of
when I really
music
want to go out. Yeah, exactly.
in that town.
Yeah, we went to Indianapolis a few years ago. There's a place called like the Slippery Noodle. There was a band called Fair City Fire, which was just amazing. And
Never heard of
Indianapolis is an underrated town too.
I've passed through there on a
Yeah.
road trip once. I think we went to the Speedway and took the tour and all that.
That St. Elmo Steakhouse is everything that everybody says it is. So
Is it?
Yeah.
Never went there
Yeah.
before. Man, that's awesome. Well, shit, man. It's almost 4 o'clock. We've been at this almost an hour. I know you have band practice to
Yeah.
get to. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to wrap it up? Finish the Goose
No, I'm
Island
just
there?
glad you're doing this and
Thanks, man.
support it, and maybe we can get people's feedback and what they'd like to hear about or talk about more. Or...
Right. Yeah. Anyone could drop us a line on, Fist from Your Face on Facebook. You can email me from their website. I'll put all this
Yeah.
in the intro to this episode, too, on where they could find me and tell me that I suck or that this was a good episode or whatever.
I
can take it.
really like the the free forum, kind of let the conversation go wherever it's got to go. And
Well, like I said, I listen to the Joe Rogan and Mark Maron podcast so much that I know the format works. It's just, you get two
Right.
genuine people kind of talking about stuff, and look at this. An hour just went by, and
Yeah.
I had a great time.
yeah, and you can find me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if you have any questions about anything, the stuff I was talking about with the kids and all
Yeah.
that.
I think a lot of people might want to even reach out to you for that, because that's...
You kind of, it becomes a community, when you have kids on the spectrum, it very quickly becomes a community. And it's amazing when I'm one of those obnoxious people, like or for people who don't have kids, that I'm constantly talking about my kid or sending pictures to my kid, like ad nauseum to people.
Yeah.
I just do that all the time. It's just like,
Well, that's most parents, and that's...
probably
yeah,
right.
that's okay.
So, but you'll have a conversation. Like I started, I'm trying out this new gym, which is probably going to kill me. And the guy there was talking about his kid and ours are the same age. Like, hey, how did you know your kid was on the spectrum and all that? So it's just really good information to have. And God knows I don't have all the answers, but I am connected to people who are, a lot more knowledgeable about it than I am, that I'd absolutely love to get people in touch with. So
Dude, that's awesome. And when I first started this thing, I kind of like typed out a little mission statement
Yeah.
for this on one of my blog posts, and one of them was to end each episode having learned something new.
sure.
And I totally accomplished that with you today.
It was great
so
to
thank
talk
you.
about this. I don't put my kid on, I don't put pictures of my kid on social media,
Sure, yeah.
which will be a whole
Don't do
nother
that.
thing I could go on. And this is really bad, and it's going to piss off a lot of people in my business, but I don't understand kids who, kind of people who whore out their kids on social
Pimp
media.
their kids out for
pimp
likes
their kids
and
out.
shares.
Yeah, I
Oof.
just, man, I'm just like,
Don't do that.
so much. You and I were talking off the air about what a cesspool Facebook is.
Oh, it's awful.
And then it's kind of like a necessary evil for like what I have to do for a living and all that. But, you know, I actually talked to like a internet fraud expert about this.
Oh, really?
I was like, yeah, we're really thinking about like not putting our kid on social media. He's like, you're really smart.
Totally.
Doing that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
again, I just told you a minute ago how proud I am of my kid, and everybody I know I'm sending pictures to left and right and talking about like incessantly ad nauseum. That being said, when you put that out just to the world, to people you don't know at all, and there are so many, you know, when you're in the news, you kind of learn a lot of things that you never wanted to know, and there's so many bad stories about kids. And we had this weird thing where like somebody was just taking pictures in front of our house one day.
Really?
And it was probably just a real estate guy, but it freaked me out a little bit.
Right.
Right about the time we were deciding, like, you know, and we just said, you know what, we're not going to put. And the other part of it is you don't know what your kid's going to grow up to be, right?
Of course.
So your kid's in that awkward teenage years and has this entire social media history
that they didn't control any
that
of.
they didn't control. You don't know what your kid's going to be like and the issues they may have with that, or, you know, that type of thing.
That's a really good
So,
point. For you to have the foresight of that,
Yeah.
man, I commend you for that. That's
you know, and I'm not in the position, I'm not on camera a lot. I'm not in the position where a lot of other people I work with are, that may be forced to really, there's so many people, especially women now, who have to like really project themselves out on social media so much, whether they like it or not. And I think some people enjoy it, and some people are, you know, there's so many women that just have to deal with like the middle-aged creepy dudes and, oh, you look nice in that dress, you know, and,
no doubt.
and that guy. So
Right.
like I get like, you know, scanner, police, fire scanner geeks, like, you know, that's my jam. I don't get like the, you know,
You don't get the stage 5
Yeah.
clinger stalkers.
right,
necessarily.
exactly.
Okay.
So, but they get a lot of pressure. I mean, social media is a huge part of like broadcasting and being a public figure now, and you know,
Is your Facebook page like a fan page where you
I've
can...
got two.
Oh, you
Yeah,
do?
I've got my
You have
own,
that.
and then I've got another one, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm there for anybody. What I really like to do, especially with Facebook, and I've learned this with Facebook, is I like to put out a lot of images of like sunrises and
I've noticed that.
skyscrapers and all that, because as soon as you put news stories on Facebook, the comments just go to the deepest depths of bloody
Never read the
frickin'
comments.
hell. Yeah.
Never read
God forbid you put like, there's a protest downtown about, doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
And then it's just like, you know, the dude's coming out, shoot every one of them, man. And like, you know, and back
God.
and forth. So,
You have people saying that on your Facebook
Oh, yeah.
to shoot people?
yes, who are protesting. Yeah. So, but
Wow.
it's
I mean, it doesn't
also,
surprise
we're
me.
learning like an organized thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that this is like, you know, there are accounts created over in Mother Russia to do these very things. So
Right.
Yeah.
That was a big catalyst in me completely deleting my Facebook
Sure.
about 2 years ago. I mean, the whole election happened and Russia compromised everything. Cambridge
Yeah.
Analytica and
And-
data
and
breaches on Facebook.
I don't want to sound lectury, but I'll say one thing. Anything you share on Facebook from a, not from an individual person, but like even the most, what looks like the most wonderful thing. Can we get 1 million likes
Like
for this little boy with cancer?
Oh, right. Those ones.
Sure.
Sure.
Those are, for the most part, created by people who are just wanting to get your information.
Sure.
You know, this guy gave his life for the military. You know, can we at least give him some likes? Well, of course we should give him likes. He gave his life for his country. But these people behind this are just all using this to separate us and divide us and to get access to your information.
There's no
every
doubt
time you
about it.
write a comment and all that. So whatever you share, no matter, unless it's from a really credible source, and by credible I
Well,
mean
how do you
like
even know? That's
not,
the point.
by credible I mean like least likely to get hacked, least likely not to be, you know, the source of it being some bot that's trying to do
Yeah.
nasty things. You know, you can think what you want about NBC News, and people have all kinds of opinions in the news these days, but, you
Yeah.
know, we're putting out information to put out the information. You know, you can agree with it, not agree with it, think what you think of it, but we're not like out to,
Well, that's
you know,
one thing.
you know, ruin your lives. So
Well-
just remember that when you share anything
Yeah.
on Facebook, you know.
That reminds me of one that I saw. I don't know if anybody remembers this one, but it was one of those things like this guy was a burn victim and something like that, and it ended up being like a picture of a fucking Thanksgiving turkey or something.
Right.
And it wasn't even
Yeah.
it was completely disingenuous and bullshit, and it's like got a million shares.
Yeah, and they're
It's
tugging
like,
at
what
people's
the
heartstrings
fuck?
and all that. And
Yeah, it's insane.
so that's why Facebook is just a goddamn cesspool, but
It really is. And even if it was all legit, it's still a huge time waster. I mean, people just... I remember when I had it on my phone 2-3 years ago, I found myself scrolling up my screen. 5 posts would go by, and I realized I've been looking at the same 5 posts, like, repeatedly for the last, like, 5 minutes, and my brain didn't even realize it. I'm just mindlessly scrolling. It's like, I got to get this out of my life. So... It's got good and it's got bad to it, I suppose. It's
and again, when you're a broadcaster, you have to do it. Unfortunately for bands, and especially like middle-aged dudes like us, it's the number one way to promote your band.
Sure.
And there's this whole built-in thing, and that's kind of great, where you can invite people from Facebook and all that, and to your gig and to your band page and all that. So.
Well, tell the people one more time about your band and where you're going to be.
So we're C130, and you just look that up on C130 the band, or just look me up on Mike Lorber, and you'll Lorber or Sky 5 stuff, and you'll see all of it. Our first gig is Tinley Park, the Station Pub, which is right by the train station in downtown Tinley Park. Saturday, May 14th, which is the Saturday of St. Patty's Day, and we'll be all green and
March 14th.
Yeah, March 14th.
You said May.
Yeah. It's
St. Patty's.
It's the bourbon stout. I'm telling you, dude.
It was perfect. It was
Yes,
aged
it
beautifully.
was.
Thank you, Mike, for the wonderful gift. I'm glad I got to share it with you for my first episode.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you,
again
man.
for coming out, man.
All right.
Good talk. Bye, everybody.